Hey everyone, it's Jonathan, and welcome to the final episode of our series on Disney's Peter Pan, for now. Next time will be a non-Disney adaptation, but we'll be back to Disney soon. Today, Stanford and I are joined by Mark Brown, and we're talking about the most recent adaptation of Peter Pan, which was brand new when we recorded this last year, the direct-to-streaming Disney Plus live-action remake, Peter Pan and Wendy. I guess before we get into everything, what are your initial thoughts on this, either as a movie itself or an adaptation of Peter Pan or an adaptation of Disney's Peter Pan? Like, how do you feel generally about this movie? We can start with Stanford.
Oh, I hated it. I'll just go ahead. And we'll get into some of the reasons. But I should really say, sadly, I hated it. I was actually quite looking forward to it. I've liked some of David Lowery's work in the past, and I thought that just based on the promotional material, that it looked like it could be promising.
Yeah, I thought so too, and I really liked his Pete's Dragon adaptation.
Yeah, it was that. I thought it was excellent as well.
Yeah.
And for me, I guess I have two opinions on this. There's how I feel about the film itself as a film, and then there's the grade that I gave it when I watched and reviewed it for my blog. And they're a little bit different. I use a template to rate movies on my blog, and by using that, this film got a pretty high rating. But my personal feelings toward the film as a film, it wasn't quite so high. I didn't dislike it, actually. I was kind of surprised myself, but it was more like it was okay. I'm glad I watched it. I could watch it again, and that's kind of how I felt about it. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think I feel similarly. I probably will watch it again. Like, if somebody wants to watch it, I would have no problem watching this again because I liked it. I didn't love it like I thought I was going to. Like, I was expecting Pete's Dragon levels of being amazing.
And it was I hated just Pete's kind Dragon of remake, fine. So I was glad.
Oh, well. I liked Pete's Dragon. I liked how different it was from the original.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
But yeah, I don't know that I was like disappointed by anything. I just thought that it wasn't as good as I kind of was expecting it to be, because like I saw the trailer and was like, oh, this looks promising.
Yeah.
And then it was just fine.
I guess the way I feel about it is like, besides some of the great visuals in the film, I think Disney made a good decision releasing this to Disney Plus rather than to cinemas. I think it's definitely a Disney Plus type of film. Besides, like I said, there are some visuals that I adore. Like we'll talk about it, but like there's a scene where like Peter Pan jumps off a horse from the cliff onto the pirate ship that's floating in the air because of the magic pixie dust. And like I took a screenshot of that. Like I love that visual so much. So I think stuff like that would have looked good on the big screen. But yeah, besides that, in terms of just overall plot and how stuff went, yeah, it's definitely a Disney Plus kind of film.
Yeah, for a few scenes while I was watching, I was like, I wish I could watch this on the big screen. But then the rest of it, even though it looked good, it still felt like a TV movie.
Yeah.
And specifically, it felt like a movie from the 90s. Like it felt like
interesting. Yeah.
a kid's movie from the 90s.
Like Tall Tale or something.
Yeah, it just, the way the kids acted, the way the story went, it just felt like something I would have watched and loved as a kid. But as an adult, it was just fine.
I guess a question I have for you guys is, do you guys see this as another one of Disney's remakes? Like, is this a live action remake of Disney's Peter Pan, or do you see this as just another adaptation of the Peter Pan story?
Both.
I see this both too. Same with you too.
I'm kind of stuck in both.
Yeah.
There are scenes that are like directly out of the original movie, but they've put their own spin on how they get there, why they get there, and who is playing in that scene. But it's still directly from the Disney version.
Peter Pan too has been so often told, I guess,
Hmm.
through other, versions of Disney and non-Disney,
Yeah.
uh, that it just seems like this just fell into one of those. But also, just as you're saying, John, things that were really similar, to the 1953 animated one.
Hmm.
And then they used a little bit of the music, just like a little bit, a few notes from "You
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
Fly," but that
Yeah.
was
We're
it.
like, oh, I was excited. Like, oh, we're getting a song. Oh, wait, nope, we're not.
Never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they just turned it
psych.
into score, which I did like, but I wish they would have done more of.
Yeah, I do too. I kind of wish that they would have just embraced it rather than just
Yeah.
kind of give a little hint.
Hmm.
But yeah, that and I guess I don't necessarily fault it for not being a full-on musical and using all the same songs and whatnot.
Hmm.
But I just thought if they're going to use "You Can Fly," they should. I wish they would have just used it.
Hmm.
But anyway,
I can't remember. Did they use the score from the Crocodile song in this?
I don't.
I don't
It's
think
a good
so.
I
question,
can't
Mark.
remember.
I
If they
don't think they
did, it
did.
wasn't enough that it stood out.
That's
Yeah,
still,
I don't
yeah.
think. I don't think they did.
Well, in the one big set piece with the crocodile, it was definitely not because I cannot remember what the name of the song is, but there was a very recognizable classical music piece playing
Okay.
while the crocodile was chasing the pirates.
Let me just say that crocodile was huge. I've never seen such a big crocodile ever in a film.
The whole crocodile scene felt like something out of Jurassic Park, but made for
Yeah.
kids.
Like
Yeah.
if I saw that on the big screen, I think I would be legitimately terrified.
Yes.
Like calling that a crocodile, I don't think is even the right word.
No, it looks like I don't remember what the I'm probably going to butcher the name, like Protosuchus or something. The thing that's like a crocodile, but it's enormous. But also
Probably, yeah.
this kind of looked more like a gharial because of the snout shape. It was long and thin.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was thinking like a caiman or something like that.
Something. It was not crocodilian enough. It was like it was in the family, but it wasn't a crocodile.
I like to picture like reptile scientists watching this film and critiquing it. It's like, oh, that's totally unrealistic.
Yeah.
I forget what the word for reptile scientist are, so I'm just calling them reptile scientists.
Herpetologist.
Sure, there we go.
Oh, nice.
I know that because of a series of unfortunate events, which I read many times over the years,
Nice.
and their uncle was a herpetologist.
See, books teach you things.
Yes.
There's a weird amount of things that I learned from a series of unfortunate events. It was like they hid a lot of educational stuff inside of a bunch of ridiculous stuff.
And that you're kindly sharing with us, John, and helping it,
Yes,
improve our
expanding your
knowledge.
knowledge.
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, before we get into the movie, we could talk about the cast.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anybody that really stood out to you besides Jude Law and Jim Gaffigan?
Personally, I kind of like I forget his name, but the kid who played Peter Pan. I thought
Alexander
he did
Maloney.
correct. Ewan, yeah, Mr. Alexander
I wrote it
Maloney.
down.
Thanks. Yeah, I felt there were a lot of scenes where I could see like the childishness and the stuck-upness of Peter Pan's character in how Alexander Maloney played him, and I kind of like how he portrayed the character in those scenes. There are some parts where Peter Pan just gets a way too like sympathetic and depressing, and it's like that's not the Peter Pan I'm
Yeah.
granted I've not read the book, but based on everything else I've seen, that's not the Peter Pan I know. But overall I did like him. I had no problem with I forget her name now, who played Wendy.
Ever Anderson.
Ever Anderson, thank you. She's the daughter of, was it Mila Jovovich, or she's some famous person's daughter. But anyway, yeah, her Wendy was again fine, except I think they just make her a bit too, warrior-esque, as
I kind of felt the same way. And like I usually don't have a problem with that, but it felt
out of character for Wendy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought it was off too. Yeah.
And I think that's why they're trying to call the movie Peter Pan and Wendy, but I mean it's more just they want to give Wendy, more of a like, oh, she does stuff, she kills pirates or shoots them or something.
Yeah.
So, but
Warrior Wendy.
Warrior Wendy. It just felt off to me. But
Yeah.
yeah, Jude Law I thought was amazing as Captain Hook, and Jim Gaffigan was surprisingly good for Mr. Smee. I can't really remember the others.
I was looking. I always like. I think Alan Tudyk, if I'm saying his name
Oh, okay.
Alan
correctly.
Tudyk as Mr. Darling.
Alan
Yeah.
Tudyk, thank you, is I think always solid.
I thought he was great, and I wanted him to be Captain Hook.
Me
Like I
too,
like
so
Jude
much.
Law.
Yeah, exactly. I
I did
really, really want
too.
him to play Captain Hook like they usually do. But
Yeah, which is kind of a standard, right? And they broke from that, which I thought was
Uh-huh.
kind of a bummer because I was really looking. I thought Jude Law as Captain Hook was a really great idea for casting, but I
Mhm.
don't think that the script really matched
Yeah.
his.
Especially with where they took the character.
just
Ooh,
imagine what
that's
Alan Tudyk Captain Hook would have been. That would have been so
It
it
would have been
would
entertaining.
it
great.
would have been off the
Yes.
chart. I think he would have been fantastic because
Yeah.
Jude Law was almost too refined or too much of a gentleman, for I thought for Captain Hook. But again, maybe I'm just projecting how much I love the 1953 Captain Hook in the animated one.
I think I
Because
was just expecting him to be more unhinged, and he really wasn't.
yeah, I was gonna say that's what I like so much about how unhinged. And Alan Tudyk could have, I think, really aced that,
Yeah, he definitely could have.
but I think too part of it was the script. I think Jude Law probably could have done a good job with it too,
Hmm.
but given what he was asked to do,
I think part of the lack of unhingedness is, I guess we'll talk about it as we get to it, but it's how they wrote Captain Hook's backstory and
Yeah.
his relationship with Peter Pan. I think that's what plays into him not being as unhinged and over the top as we would want or expect.
Hmm. Yeah.
now I thought the actress who played Tinkerbell, I thought she was cute, but I kind of felt they didn't give Tinkerbell enough to do. I don't know. Maybe. What did you think? I'd love your opinions, guys. Yeah, because
Like, I like Yara Shahidi because she was one of my favorite characters in the show Blackish. So
yeah,
I was looking forward to seeing her as Tinkerbell. I liked her and I liked the character, but it did not feel like Tinkerbell because Tinkerbell is halfway to evil. Like Tinkerbell is like a little snot. And this
yeah.
was like she was super nice, which I
She was
mean I
just so
liked, but
cute,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
It
no
wasn't
rivalry between her and Wendy, right? From what I
no,
remember.
they were
Yeah.
friends. Like she helped her out, which I guess is fine. It just didn't feel like the Disney Tinkerbell.
Yeah. What was your take on it, Mark? What do you?
I actually forgot about Tinkerbell until you mentioned her. So I guess that probably
that
tells you how
that
much of
says,
impact she made.
yeah, how much? That's
Like
fair.
I think the character. I know Tinkerbell's not supposed to talk, but it seems I felt maybe it was a waste of the actress playing the character to not talk until like the very end. And then there's this whole issue with like, oh, she actually does say stuff, but Peter Pan doesn't really hear her, but Wendy hears her because she's a girl, I guess. At the end, and then we finally hear the words she says. So I don't know. That was kind of weird.
I don't really remember what the explanation for her finally hearing her was. I don't know.
I think she says something like, "Wendy, thank you for hearing me," or something like that. So I
Yeah,
think
but
they were
as far as
implying
like
that she actually
why,
paid attention.
yeah, it felt like there was a lot of things. Like I just went through this. I recorded a couple of episodes with my cousin about two different Care Bears versions of things. And not that this is on the same level of not goodness as the Care Bears,
Not
but it felt
goodness,
like a lot of things happened just because. Like they just happened. Like that's where the story needed to go, so that's what's going to happen. It didn't have
because
to make
the script
sense.
said so.
Yeah, like that was like the entire Care Bears thing. Like nothing made sense in those. And a lot of stuff did make sense in this, but there were a few things, especially the Tinkerbell talking finally at the end, that was just like, well, we want her to talk, so she's going to talk. We're not going to make it make sense. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Which I guess is fine. It's a fantasy, so whatever. I don't know. Well, as far as the kids who played John and Michael, I thought they were the best kid actors in this whole thing. I thought they were great. They felt like real little kids. The other kids,
I was annoyed with the young one. He said Michael, whoever's the youngest one. He just annoyed me.
Well, he felt real. Not that he needed to feel annoying or whatever, but he felt
Yeah.
like an actual little kid,
Hmm.
and maybe that's part of it. I don't know, but I don't think they have much that they've done in the past, so I have no other frame of reference other than this movie.
Yeah.
But they seem to
Hmm.
be the best actors in this whole thing because all the other little kids were cute, but for the most part, you could tell that they were acting. At least to me, it didn't feel completely genuine, like this is a real small child. It felt like this is a kid reciting lines, which is fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that, especially with little kids.
Hmm.
Like, it doesn't matter to me that much. And all these kids were cute, and I'm happy with them in their parts. But for me, John and Michael, they felt like real little kids.
I'll give you that for John. I think I would see that in John, that he didn't feel like a kid reading his lines. Like I felt that was John from the 1953 Peter Pan come to life.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. If John and Michael, I thought worked, and I kind of promptly then stopped thinking about him and just was focusing more on all the negatives. Because yeah, they were like, okay, yeah, these are two good little actors, and they look the part.
And for the most part, I think all of these kids are mostly unknown. Like for Peter Pan and Wendy, they've done a couple other things. Actually, I didn't realize that I had known Alexander Maloney from something else because he was in the English dub of a French animated film that I really like called The Big Bad Fox and Other Tales. He played a
Yeah,
little kid chick, like a little bird.
Oh,
I didn't realize that too either until after I saw it.
Yeah, I looked that up. I was like, oh wow, yeah, I remember that character because I like that character.
oh, interesting. Yeah,
And then Ever Anderson played young Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, in the Black Widow movie.
yeah. Another one. Like, oh, okay, that's where I've seen her before.
I didn't see that one.
And then all the other little kids I didn't recognize except the twins. And I didn't recognize them like, oh yeah, that's who they are. I looked them up. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I do know them. They played the daughters of Sergeant Jeffords on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Cagney and Lacey. I had forgotten about it. It's been a while since I've watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine. They were much
I
younger then. But yeah, so I recognized the twins.
I I hadn't I've seen a few episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I love that they named the twins that. That's hilarious.
Yeah. They were characters that were like they were always mentioned but rarely seen.
Okay. That's funny.
Oh, I just looked it up. Ever Anderson, her dad is Paula W.S. Anderson, and her mom is Mila Jovovich.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Now okay.
Now we know. She has celebrity blood in both of her
Well,
sides.
and you know what? She looks like her mom in a lot of
Yeah,
ways,
yeah.
doesn't she?
Hmm.
Yeah.
As far as the pirates, I recognized a lot of faces, but I don't know who they were or which names they were. Like there was a lot of pirate people in the background. The only exception is the guy who played one of the main pirates. Um, I guess his name is Bill Jukes. I don't think he was ever referenced by name in the movie that I remember, but he played the bald man in A Series of Unfortunate Events, the series on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
So he's the main one that I recognized.
Another series of unfortunate events reference.
Yes. I think my favorite pirate though was the one that kept going after Michael, the one who wanted his bear. I don't know why I liked that guy. I thought he was funny.
That was a pretty good running gag, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at the list and I don't recognize any of these actors either. I mean, maybe if went through all of their filmographies, could
Well, I
oh
wouldn't have
yeah,
recognized the name of the actor anyways. He's John
yeah.
DeSantis. John DeSantis, not Ron
Oh, I thought you were
DeSantis.
talking about our governor. Oh, God. He was in the movie. Wow, I missed him.
before maybe that's why he came after Disney, right?
Yes, this is the movie you put me in. That's it.
But yeah, I wouldn't have recognized him by name. I just recognized him as the character that he played.
As the character, yeah.
Well, I guess we can go into the movie itself. I thought it was interesting that it opened with a logo that looked like the logo in the original movie, like the Peter Pan, the font, and then having the feather on it.
Yes.
I don't remember that. Then again, I saw this like a month and a half ago.
I do, and I thought, oh, cool. I kind of I thought, okay, someone's paid attention, and it was like an homage, and it was stylish, and I thought, okay, fingers crossed.
Mhm.
Poor Stanford, it just went downhill for you
I
after.
know, and then from there,
Great logo. Oh no, it's
oh
going
dear,
down.
the movie.
Yeah, this one they've changed up what's happening with Wendy. They're having her leave for boarding school the next day. And she is more involved in the play with her brothers. Like she ends up breaking a mirror because she's sword fighting with them. And then she blames her brothers. And then when they ask her about it, she's just like, well, we're pirates. So every pirate for himself, something like that.
I think that's one thing I didn't like about her character change in here. Like I feel the Wendy from the original, at least the Disney version, is maybe more nurturing and more loving. I feel like she would have taken the blame for her brothers, whereas
Yeah,
the Wendy in this is not as they definitely make a point to say that, oh, she's not a motherly type. They really
yeah,
hammer in that she's a warrior type in this movie.
Yeah,
yeah.
So
And you see the parents here. And I liked the dad better in this one than in the animated one. I'm not a fan of the animated
oh, I
Mr.
love
Darling.
him in that. I love Mr. Darling the animated one. He's one of my favorite characters
I
in
love him
Disney.
too, but I
I,
guess,
lo- I think Hans Connery playing him is helps it.
yeah, Hans Connery, and I love how he's victimized, I guess self-victimized.
That's
I
a
like
good
those
way to
type of
put it.
characters.
Self-victimized.
But I hear what you're saying, John. I hear what you're saying, John. Yeah.
They all go to bed, and then Tinkerbell arrives to get Wendy. They've changed this whole scene around. It's a lot shorter, actually. There
Yeah.
is the shadow does come into play, but like when Tinkerbell gets there, she immediately makes Wendy fly because she had, I guess
Remember
Peter
that?
Pan like heard her wish to never grow up or something. So that they've got this plan to take her to Neverland, where she will never have to grow up.
Yeah, it's confusing because, like you said, in the original film, the reason they're coming is to look for Peter Pan's shadow. But here, the shadow is there, but it's like it's not even referenced or mentioned. It feels like it's just thrown in afterwards once they get
Kind
there,
of, yeah,
rather than, oh, that was the reason they were coming there in the first place.
yeah.
And sorry, before we get to that, I was gonna mention the lullaby that the mom sings to Wendy. What do you guys think of that? I thought that was a really good song if that was the original song.
That was pretty too. Yeah.
It was fine, but I don't really remember it very much.
Well, there we go. I liked it a lot. Like I thought that was one of the pluses I gave to the movie. Like if that was an original song, and I think it was
I
really
think it
well
was an
done.
original song. Yes.
Mhm.
Well, they do have the shadow scene, but they get it reattached very quickly and then they're off to Neverland. I liked that they addressed the Nana thing because I always wondered how long Nana had to float up in the
I
air on her chain.
know.
But in this one, they just have her swim back down to her doghouse.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay. I missed that. I don't
I
remember that.
love when Nana in the animated one, how she waves goodbye and she's out of there upside down and waves.
Don't mind me. I'll figure out my own way down.
Yeah, exactly. She's not barking and having a fit. Uh,
It's just grateful for the experience.
yeah, she's just like, well, just another day.
It's a dog's life, they say.
Yeah.
And then, like we said, they have You Can Fly a score in here. And I really liked that. I wish there were more of it, but I liked what we got. And then I loved the scene where they fly through Big Ben like it's a portal to Neverland. I thought that looked so cool.
You know what that reminded me of, Jonathan? It reminded me of the Christmas Carol one version, animated one that we saw, Scrooge. That's what that reminded me of.
With Jim Carrey.
No, they made an animated remake of the Albert Finney Scrooge. It came to
Oh yeah,
Netflix
yeah,
last
yeah,
year, and there's like a time traveling portal element to it, and that's what that reminded me
yeah.
of.
That's what they did.
I guess it didn't remind me of that because I loved it in this. I thought it
Oh,
looked so cool.
loved it. I loved it in this one too, but it just reminded me of. I think it was the colors and how they animated it.
Yeah. But this is one of those things. This was like the first thing where I was like, I wish I could have seen this on the big screen. And at this point
Yeah.
I wasn't like I hadn't gotten far enough into it that I was thinking of it as a TV movie. I thought I was
Yeah,
thinking of it
correct.
as a regular movie that had been downgraded to Disney Plus. So when I saw this, I was like, this would have been so much better on the big screen. And then I changed my opinion later, but I still would have liked to see this on the big screen, this specific scene.
Yeah, I thought the flying scene they did a nice job, and there was the homage as we've already mentioned with the music, and they kind of made it their own thing.
Yeah.
And kind of what they did to Jonathan when we talked about Return to Neverland,
Mm-hmm.
how they made that way
Oh
into
yeah, the
Neverland.
portal.
It
Yeah.
was all that portal was almost like a kaleidoscope where they were going into the world of Tron or something. but
Peter Pan and
still it was
Tron.
different.
Yeah.
and that's okay. That's okay.
Well, they get to Neverland and the pirates are shooting cannonballs at them.
As
And
they do.
because this Tinkerbell is nice, they don't have the scene where she goes and tries to get her killed.
Yeah.
Tries to
Kill the
murder
Wendy
Wendy.
bird.
One of her many attempts.
Yes. She just ends up getting separated from everybody else. Like a cannonball hits the cliff they're hiding on, and somehow she wound up far away from everybody else, even though she was in the middle. I didn't think that made a whole lot of sense, but that was one of those things where it was like,
Yeah.
well, this needs to happen, so this is how it's going to happen. Moving on.
Yeah, they all got separated very weirdly.
Yeah. But this is where she meets Tiger Lily and the Lost Boys.
And
And at
some of
first
them try to kill her.
yeah. At first, I thought that they had changed it so that Tiger Lily was one of the Lost Boys, but then you later find out that she's not like officially part of their group. She has her own people, but she just hangs out with them all the time, I guess.
She's not part of the gang.
She is and she isn't.
She is.
Yeah.
She's an honorary member.
I don't wish to be a jerk, but I can't say that I loved this interpretation of Tiger Lily either. I mean, I thought it was cool that again she was, a leader and again kind of like warrior princess.
Yeah,
too,
again, it had that warriorness to it.
which I don't necessarily mind that, but I don't know. It just kind of felt like, well, this is how we're going to deal with the trouble with the racial stereotyping from the 1953 film. We're gonna elevate this character, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what I would have done, but I'm not sure that would have been.
Yeah, I felt the same. Cause I like aspects of her character.
I do too, and she's beautiful. I mean, I loved her. I loved her costume. I loved how she was, incorporated, visually into the story. But
It would be interesting to know like how someone who's actually Native American would feel about the character, because on the one hand she is a great character, but on the other hand it felt like they leaned too hard into good stereotypes.
right,
Like the original was bad stereotypes and this is like good stereotypes. So I don't know if they could have found some sort of happy medium.
a happy
I don't
medium.
know.
Yeah,
Like because like she is a good character, but like every time she would do something awesome, there would be like Indian war cries incorporated into the score, which just felt kind of too on the nose.
yeah,
I kind of liked the music but it felt weird also. So I don't know how I feel.
yeah. I'm with you, John. I thought it was a great way to say it.
I agree with you guys. I felt she, again, they made her more warrior e compared to Tiger Lily in the animated Disney film, and like some of it works, some of it feels just over the top, and she's just super warrior because the script says she is.
Yeah.
So,
well, with this, after she's met everybody, she sees through a telescope that the pirates are capturing John and Michael. And this is the first thing where they take one scene from the movie and then change it up, do their own thing with it. Because in the original movie, Tiger Lily is the one who's captured and they have to save her. Yeah. But in this one, John and Michael are captured, taken to Skull Rock, and then Tiger Lily, Wendy, the Lost Boys, and Peter Pan all have to team up and rescue them. And this is where it really started.
Girls as well in them.
Yes, yeah, which I thought worked for the way they did it in this movie. But then I was reminded later on, I think the original thinking with the Lost Boys was that girls were like too smart to never want to grow up.
Right. Kind of like a non-flattering portrayal of boys, right?
Yeah. But I mean, It's fine. I don't care. It's similar to how I felt about the inclusion of girls in the Pleasure Island scene on the Disney Pinocchio. It's like kids are kids, and little girls are just as capable as of being bad as little boys. So I didn't care that they were also taken off to Pleasure Island as well.
Yeah.
So the girls
I
can
guess with
be,
me, it was the name. Like I thought maybe they should have changed the name to Lost Boys or something else. I don't know, Lost Kids or something.
Lost kid, lost children.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't really care either way.
Yeah,
It didn't bother me at all. But yeah, anyways, this is where things really started feeling like a kids movie from the 90s. It just the whole feel of this where they're all,
like the Goonies. Well, I guess that's the 80s.
I mean, it could fit in with that too. Just the way the kids were talking to the pirates and the pirates talking to the kids, just the back and forth and then the fights, and it just felt like a kids movie from the 90s. And that's not a
Yeah.
bad thing. It just felt like something that I would have watched and loved as a kid. But now as
Yeah.
an adult, it's like, meh, this is fine.
That's a really good point, John, because I thought too, just the way that whole sequence was staged, a great way to put it. It almost felt maybe a tad cheesy. Is that the right word? I don't
I
know.
would say yes.
Okay.
Like it wasn't cheesy in a grating way. It was cheesy
Right.
in, yeah, this isn't perfect, but whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. I was like,
Like
we're having fun with this. Yeah.
I have a feeling that they were making this more with kids in mind than with adults, and that's fine. Like I don't think that everything must be made for all ages. Like you can make a kids movie, and that's what this can be. Because I think kids will like this more than adults, and that's fine.
I think also part of it is the like the Peter Pan. I forget the word now, but like the Christmas pageants that they do in the UK that are like over the top and cheesy, and it's more like a
Pantomimes.
pantomimes. That's the word. And I feel a lot of that is probably influenced by Peter Pan pantomimes.
Mm,
Oh
you
yeah.
could be right.
Interesting.
I
Hmm.
actually haven't ever seen one of those.
Yeah, I never see one in person either.
Yeah.
I mean, even the original play, you could say is somewhat Peter pantomime is esque because, like, don't they, when Tinkerbell is quote unquote dying, don't they actually talk to the audience and say,
Yeah,
"Hey, start
Yeah.
clapping to bring her back to life"? So there
yeah.
is that
Yeah.
audience participation there.
You know, one thing too that just really started to sink into me as the film continued once they arrived in Neverland was how unappealing Neverland was to me. Now,
I kind of felt the same way. Like it wasn't bad, but it just didn't feel magical, I
no,
It's
guess.
it
not the
didn't.
place like a kid would
Yeah, like,
want to go to.
I thought again, a gorgeous place, according to what I found, on a Google search, it was filmed in Newfoundland and Labrador, if I'm saying it the right way. To me, it looked like it was from the novel Wuthering Heights. It was like the British moors, and just like that's not I want to go to like the jungle or to someplace
Yeah.
this more exotic, which I thought was really well represented in the 1953, of course,
Hmm.
version. Of course, it's animated or whatnot, but there were trees and there was all sorts of stuff going on. Where this just being out on the more again in the trailers, I thought, oh, that looks so pretty. And then once we kept spending more time there, I thought this Neverland is so dreary.
I kind of felt like that too.
I wouldn't want to, I wouldn't want to go there.
I didn't think about that until you mentioned it, but I can agree, especially when we get to like where their hideout is.
Yeah,
It
it just
felt
continued for me.
it felt like a place, not that I would not want to go there because, well, like I'm from Iowa and I've hardly ever been out of Iowa. So like anything is more exotic to me. But it felt like a place where I would want to go on vacation, but it would be
Gary,
one
Indiana.
place that I would go and then I would want to go someplace else next time. Like I wouldn't feel
Yeah.
like I would want to go back there. I'd want to see it once and that'd be enough.
Yeah, same. I really would love to go there, but I just thought this does not seem like a setting for Neverland, just like
Yeah.
this wonderful fantasy place where there are pirates and mermaids and and all the stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of mermaids, we barely see them. I think don't we only see them when they're flying,
Yeah.
and then that's
I
it.
was I was waiting to see more of them because I thought their design was interesting because it looked like their
Yes.
tails were jellyfish tails. Like
Yeah.
they might have had the fish underneath the jellyfish tendrils or whatever they're called, but like it was like they had a skirt of jellyfish tendrils or tentacles or whatever the lacy stuff is. And I thought that looked cool, and I wanted to get a better look at them, but then that's all we got.
Maybe they figured we're already getting a Little Mermaid movie this year.
You know, they're like,
Our audiences can wait for the
we're
big
not gonna
actual
pay for
Probably.
Mermaid.
We can't afford this.
Yeah, maybe they used like some background Little Mermaid characters as like stock characters in the scene,
Right,
and that's all they
exactly.
did with them.
I think I would have preferred more Mermaid than what we
Okay,
got.
you 12 doing
Yeah.
anything right now? We got a film. Peter Pan and Wendy. It'll be quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it was fine. I liked the designs. I just wanted more of them. I wanted a better look at them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
There's no drowning of Wendy in this one.
No, they're
Yes.
not trying to murder Wendy.
No attempted
Yeah.
murder.
No, I forgot to mention the main attempted murder was Captain Hook shooting somebody through his door. And I thought he was dead. I was like, oh, they're going dark with this. But then he moved and he's fine. I was like, how did he survive that?
Yeah,
It's a
same.
strong door, man.
I think that should have been the first indication that this was going to be more aimed at kids because
Yeah.
it's really like the only maybe death is the crocodile scene, which we're getting to in Skull Rock, because I think the crocodile eats one of the pirates, but it's off screen because like all the kids react like they've just seen something horrible, but you
Yeah.
don't know what it is because they don't show it. So it's like the whole crocodile scene, it felt like Jurassic Park, but no blood, and the music was fun. Like they had that, like I don't know what the music is called. There's like a really, like when you watch it, you should recognize the classical score that they use because it's something that I've heard a lot in other things. I just don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but they used like a very well known like a theme, right? From
Yeah.
classical piece. Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked that scene. Like it felt like this was really where it got into like this is more for kids because it was fun, but I did not get any sense of danger from any of this. It did not feel scary. It felt just fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, they eventually are able to escape the crocodile and they go back to their hideout, which is some kind of a ruin. It's like, I don't know, an old castle or something.
It reminded me a lot of
Yeah.
like King Louis's place.
Same
Jungle
here,
Book.
Mark.
Oh,
Yes.
maybe.
That kind of vibe going on.
But yeah, just this kind of decrepit.
Yeah, maybe a little more European than
Yeah.
we got in the Jungle Book.
But the same level of ruin, right? Just
Yeah.
different,
Yes.
Just
different
overgrown.
architectural style. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Tucker Lily's like, I can't go in. These aren't my people, or something like that. I forget what she says, but
She
like for some
she
reason she doesn't go in.
she says she's leaving because this is their home, it's not her home, and she
Yeah, okay.
says that maybe it's not your home either. Like tell this to she's talking to Wendy. She's
Mm.
like, this isn't my home, and maybe it's not yours either. So then you get inside, and the Lost Boys are talking about Captain Hook and Peter, and you get the sense that they're connected somehow, but they're not going into it yet. And Wendy's like inquiring, like, well, what happened in the past? And then Peter gets mad and flies out. And then Tinkerbell is like prompting her on, go after him. And she climbs up to the top of the castle, and he says that Captain Hook was once his best friend, James. He was the very first lost boy until he left Neverland and grew up, which I thought was strange.
That's when I checked out. I mean, that's at that moment I thought, oh my goodness, this movie is going there, and I hate it. I hate it.
I feel I've seen that before though in another adaptation where Peter Pan and Captain Hook were friends and
They
he
were
was
BFFs.
and he was the original Lost Boy. I can't remember where though. There was a have you guys seen Neverland? There was a miniseries called Neverland a few years ago.
I think
I
I
have
know what you're
not.
talking about, but I
It was like
have
a
not
Peter
watched
Pan
it.
origin story with Reese Ifans played Captain Hook and Keira Knightley was like the voice of Tinkerbell. And I think if I remember vaguely, they did something like that in that with Peter Pan and Captain Hook, but don't quote me on that. But it was like
Hmm.
another Peter Pan origins kind of story.
Okay.
For my personal taste, and I'm really anxious to hear what you both think about this particular plot point. I get frustrated when a backstory is created for a villain in a lot of ways because typically it's more sympathetic, and maybe that is a good thing to do, to show that this is a redeemable character that had came from this circumstance and bad things happened and these choices were made, right? But this just frustrated me because it's just like, it's Captain Hook.
At this point, it's kind of become a joke. It's like a
Yeah.
trope of the Disney live action versions to
Yes.
try and redeem the bad guy, which I can understand wanting to do, and I think it would be fine if they do it once in a while. But at this point, it's like they always do it,
As
to the point where
always.
I was surprised that they didn't with The Little Mermaid. Like they let Ursula be evil, which I was
I
kind of surprised about.
John, I felt the same way. I thought I just was certain that Ursula was going to get more of a backstory, and she's like, "Oh, poor Ursula,"
Yeah, well, I
You
mean, she
should
did get
sorry
more of a
for her
backstory, but it was
because she's
never like,
evil.
yeah, it was never like she had this tragic past and that's why we should feel sorry for her. It was more like, no, she had this past and she chose to become evil because of it, and
Yeah,
she's still evil. We need to defeat her.
yeah, exactly. So that really frustrated. So the combination of and they're in. I thought that the Lost Boys lair was so gloomy
Yeah,
too. That not that they needed to put it in a tree trunk, but that was
yeah,
like I'd want to go there, like the one from the 1953.
yeah,
Versus like I'd want to hang out there. That's so cool.
yeah.
Uh,
Again, this their hideout felt like a place that I would think is cool to visit once, and then it would be like, well, I saw that, don't need to see it again. Whereas
yeah,
the original one, it felt like someplace you would want to explore because, like, I don't know how much they go into it, but I've read, and then I think it was talked about in the Jake and the Neverland Pirate series, where their tunnels like go all over the island. Like
yes,
it's really something you can explore.
and fun.
Whereas this is just this empty tower.
Yeah, fun for kids. I mean, what
Yeah.
just for childhood, imagination and exploration, and just cool.
And then it makes me wonder, like I feel with the that big ruin just there on the island, I feel Captain Hook would have found Peter Pan in his lair much
It's so
earlier.
obvious.
It's
So
not
Yeah.
obvious.
it's not really hidden.
Yeah,
It just
Yeah.
takes a little bit of exploring, and I'm sure he would have found it
yeah.
earlier than
Great,
he did.
Yeah.
great point. Yeah,
And I agree with you about the villain backstory being a sympathetic thing, and I think it's Disney is probably at the forefront of that trope because, like you said, with especially with the live action Disney remakes, Maleficent in particular, it's like they're
oh,
Hmm.
Maleficent.
just to give them some redeemable backstory to make us feel sorry for them, and you're right, John. Like it's become like a joke, and even animated films are following that path. So that's why, like when I saw Puss in Boots 2, I was really really happy with little Jack Horner, and like they hammer it
Yes.
into you. Yeah, he's just evil. Like he has this Jiminy Cricket, Jimmy Stewart kind of conscience bunny bug who's trying to find some redeemable quality in him, and he's like he can't find anything. I'm like, yes, I'm glad we have a evil character he's just a bad guy.
It's just
Uh-huh.
evil.
Yeah. Like I have no problem with finding like one of until this became a huge trope thing, one of my favorite things in movies was a redeemable bad guy, like a bad guy having a villain redemption arc. But now it
Yeah.
seems like it happens all the time and I'm kind of over it.
I think that's what it is. It's the ubiquitousness or ubiquity, whatever the word
Yes.
is, of it that it makes it seem like nobody can be bad. Like if a character is bad, there's obviously a sympathetic reason for it, and you
Uh-huh.
have to be sympathetic rather than, like you said, Jonathan. Sometimes there's stuff going on in your past, and because of that, you've made the choice to become bad, and
Hmm.
now we got to defeat them. So
Yeah.
I think that's also part of it.
I think in another movie, I think I wouldn't mind as much having a more sympathetic Captain Hook. I think it was just the fact that this is the Disney version where it
Yes.
just felt off having him try to be more sympathetic. And
Yeah.
I don't know that they ever fully made him more sympathetic. They kind of it felt like they wanted it to be both. I don't know. It didn't feel fully fleshed out to me.
Yeah. I didn't like anything about it.
Like I don't know, when they make that live action Hunchback, I'm just wondering what the redeemable backstory for Frollo is going to be.
Oh,
Like
right.
they give him an origin in like the musical play that they've made, like, and that makes sense to with the character, but I just worry what the film is going to do with his character.
I think that it's probably not even going to end up being made. I think it's going to
Well,
be another
here's hoping.
Chernobog situation where they say that they're going to make a Chernobog movie and then they just decide to not.
because
Imagine
Chernobog was
making
just
Chernobog redeemable.
like he's just misunderstood, guys. He's just misunderstood.
It's not the actual devil, no.
He's not, yeah. He just wants to have a party.
And all these darn people with their lights keep messing up his party and his darkness.
Oh, I tell you. So yeah, that's one for literally for the rest of the movie. I was just ticked, and I kept watching it, but I was just like, I hate this thing.
Like I said, it didn't affect me that much because, like I said, I do remember some Peter Pan adaptation where they
Yeah,
did
some
this
version.
before,
Yeah,
so I was like, it wasn't new to me. It was like, oh, okay, they're doing this, but again, I can't for the life of me remember where it is or if I just made this up in my head.
Mhm. And I don't think it bothered me that much because I don't have much connection to the original. Like I haven't seen it that many times. So I'm not like super stuck on the fact that Captain Hook needs to be unhinged. I just thought it would be more fun if he was. So this
yeah,
didn't like bother me or anything. It was just like, oh, they're doing this again.
yeah,
But like I said, it felt like they were trying to do both because they also have him show up at this point. They go downstairs, the pirates have come in, they've captured everybody, and then Captain Hook ends up slashing Peter across the chest. Like there's actually blood too, which I was surprised about.
yeah. I was surprised by that too.
It's kind of blends into his shirt, but it seems at this point that he has killed Peter because it's like he falls to his death. Like even if the slashing and the blood didn't kill him, this fall would have because he falls like I don't know how many stories tall this tower thing is, but he falls all the way to the bottom and hits the ground.
Yeah, there's no reason for him not to be dead after that.
Yeah, maybe he's supposed to be. I don't know because I don't really know what's going on with Tiger Lily because once he hits the ground and everybody's gone, his shadow is still alive. So his shadow gets up, detaches itself, and flies off to get Tiger Lily. And then Tiger Lily comes back and like I don't know if she uses magic or what, but she nurses him back to health. So I don't
This was
know.
the part that I was mentioning earlier. It's like after the shadow comes to get Tiger Lily's help, like she goes back by herself. I'll be like, why didn't you bring the whole tribe with you?
I
Oh,
know.
that's true. I didn't even
For
think
this.
of that.
I wondered the same thing too.
It's like there's a whole. We see like 50 people there, and she just goes, "Nope, I'm just gonna go by myself. I'll be right back." It's like
Yeah.
this is a
Again,
dangerous situation. First of all, don't you want your whole tribe to come with you in
Tiger
case
Lily
stuff
Warrior
gets?
Princess.
Yeah, she could handle she could handle a marauding pirate crew by herself, I guess.
I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even think of that, but it would make more sense if she'd gone back and
Yeah.
gotten her crew or her
Well, I thought
tribe.
it would have been more interesting if she had done that too, and that also, I think again part of just the redeeming way, of cultural,
It could have been maybe
it,
they weren't they
possibly,
maybe they just wanted to avoid the optics of having
yeah,
warrior Indian tribe
yeah,
fighting pirates. Maybe they thought that would look bad or something. I don't
that would
know.
be bad. I don't know
Yeah,
either.
someone probably would have put a screenshot of that posted on the internet without any
No context or
no
anything.
context.
Everybody
Yeah,
freaks out.
Yeah, I guess that
I
makes sense.
suppose. But
Still felt odd.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that felt kind of off. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, all the kids they get dragged away. They get thrown in prison in the ship, and Hook reveals that the reason he left Neverland was because he was banished by Peter. And then he eventually got lost at sea and was rescued by Mr. Smee and the pirates who raised him. And then when he returned to Neverland, grown up, Peter wouldn't accept him and they became enemies.
Well, I guess that's my question. When it sounds like he never did he leave Neverland? Because I know he went to look for his mother and he couldn't find her, but it sounds like he just got lost on the way out of Neverland, and then the Mr. Smee and the other pirates found him in Neverland in one of the many waterways, and that's where they raised him up. So that's why I was confused. Like, how does if they're still in Neverland and they raised Captain Hook, why does he age and Peter Pan doesn't? But if what you're
I
saying is
don't know.
correct, that maybe maybe the pirates were out of Neverland, and that's how he aged, and then somehow I don't know. You got the pirate ship to get back into Neverland in the second place, so
This,
that
this
just
is
confused me.
this is why I felt like there were just some things that they were like, this needs to happen, so this is going to happen, and then
The
we'll move
script
on.
says so.
Yeah. Like it's fine. It's a fantasy. I don't care that much, but it would have been nice to have a little bit more explanation.
Yeah.
But at this point, Hook decides he's going to kill everybody, but Wendy promises that if he takes only her, the rest of the kids can be good pirates for him when they grow up. So this is where things sort of go back to being similar to the movie,
Yeah,
but
that
they
actually
put their
felt
own,
like a Wendy thing to do.
Yes.
yeah, the
Self-sacrificing, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah,
Like she walks the plank, right? In the
hmm
53 one. Yeah.
yeah, they do their own thing with this scene.
They have their own song, if I remember.
Yeah,
Wasn't as good as the other song.
they did a bunch of pirate sea shanties throughout the movie, just little bits of songs, which I thought was fun enough, but they weren't too memorable.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have the scene with her walking the plank and then there's no splash. But in this case, it was because not that the whole thing with Tinkerbell like betraying everybody because of
Yeah.
jealousy or whatever. That never happened. She is trapped, but she eventually manages to escape the lantern by smashing it, and then she saves Wendy. And Peter comes later with Tiger Lily. It's not like she has to go rescue him from a bomb or whatever. So basically, at this point, Tinkerbell is more Wendy's sidekick than Peter Pan's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where we get to the scene I like where
Mhm.
he's riding with Tiger Lily and he jumps off the horse off the cliff onto the pirate ship. And I just love that scene so much.
Yeah, there was a really good
That visual.
visual.
Mhm.
Yeah, because Tinkerbell, I'm not really sure why, but she makes the entire ship fly at this point. So this whole thing, there's like a long epic pirate battle on a flying ship, it does make for some cool visuals.
It looks cool. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really did look good.
That would have looked good on the big screen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the point where I was like, this would look cool on the big screen. The rest of it would be meh. So then it's like, this was thinking back, it felt like a TV movie that had a big budget that they blew on two scenes.
Right.
So the rest of it's fine. And then there's just a couple scenes that look awesome. And then the rest of it can't live up to those.
I was saying it's like Geppetto at the end when they run out of money and don't even show the the whale swallowing Pinocchio and
Oh, from Geppetto,
Geppetto. Yeah.
the TV movie version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever see that, Stanford? The Disney TV movie Geppetto with Drew Carey?
Yes, but a long time ago. Yeah.
That was a fun episode that Jonathan and I recorded.
Yeah. I'm curious. I got to check it out because I remember thinking that was a kind of a weird show.
It was. It was.
Was that an accurate memory, or was I just trying to block it out of my mind?
Yeah, it was.
I liked it a lot, but Jonathan did.
Yeah, I would say our podcast should be entertaining if you want to check it out.
I was gonna say you've posted that already,
Yeah.
haven't you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so you could check it out when we're done if you wanted.
For sure. I'm gonna check it out.
But yeah, you have the long, epic pirate battle, including a scene where Wendy like turns the whole ship upside down, which makes everything even cooler, I guess. And you have Peter arriving to confront Hook, and then this is probably the worst scene, or maybe the most cheesy slash cringy scene where he like apologizes for being a bad friend. And it was like, this feels like something that would happen in a little kid show version of this.
Yeah,
have
this
have
like
Peter Pan apologize for being a
It
bad
did
friend.
not feel authentic or
No.
right in any
No.
way to me.
It didn't feel like Peter Pan at all. Like I said
No.
earlier, they would try to make Peter Pan's character more sympathetic or not sympathizing and apologetic, which
Yeah.
is not what I expect from Peter Pan.
No, Peter Pan is supposed to be an extremely narcissistic character who is
Right.
barely likable.
And the
Selfish.
captain, and the Captain Hook's all self-aware and all this
Yeah.
stuff. Just like, what? It's driving me crazy.
Stanford walked out of that screening. Was like, I gotta watch something else now.
I know.
Like that.
Seriously. To cleanse the palate.
Yeah.
Puss in Boots too. There we go.
Yeah. Good movie.
But yeah, he apologizes, but of course, Captain Hook doesn't accept. He still tries to kill him, but Wendy flies in and stops him. And then he ends up falling, and Peter's trying to save him. And like they try and give him like pixie dust so he can fly, but he doesn't have any happy thoughts. So he falls into the sea.
That's
That
where
kind of made me laugh.
you think he'll be dead at least, but
I was just shaking my head. Emery's choice. I was just like, oh. I should have just been laughing, John. I was just ticked.
I mean, I guess it makes more sense since you have such a nostalgic connection to the original,
Yeah.
but I didn't. So,
It's all good.
but then after this, you have all the Lost Boys deciding that they want a real home. So they decide to go back to London and live with the Darlings. Which, like, I don't know
I'm
how
sure
that
my
would
parents will
work.
love that.
Like, hey,
Here's like a dozen children for you to
more
raise.
children.
Well, Wendy's going out to boarding school. They got one more.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Well, they can convert Wendy's room into
Cram 12 kids into one bed that they have lying around.
right.
I like how the parents aren't that. They're not as shocked as I thought they would be, or like wondering, hey,
Yeah.
where did all these kids come from?
Their reaction did not seem to match what my reaction would be if a dozen children showed up in my house in the middle of the night, no less.
Yeah.
Like, Wendy, we have to talk.
Yeah.
But then you get another scene with
Oh,
Peter
God.
Pan and Wendy together, where you learn that this actually used to be his old home until he ran away.
I
That
mean,
just felt so forced and written.
I just was thinking, what is next? You know? Oh dear, that was so bad.
It's just so this the very house that you lived in, that's the same house that you go back to all the time, and just serendipitously there in it now lives kids who are telling your stories in that same exact house. That was just way too much for me.
I'm with you.
But yeah, she wants him to come and stay and live with them, but he doesn't want to. He's not ready. So he leaves, goes back to Neverland with Tinkerbell. And then back in Neverland, you learn that Hook and Smee survived. So
Yeah,
maybe there's going to be a sequel.
Sequel.
And Hook smiles, so maybe he did forgive his friend after all.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that.
I've got one more gripe, and I promise I'll stop.
No, don't promise. Keep going.
Thank you, friends. But I think Jim Gaffigan is a very funny comedian, and I like him a lot. And again, I just didn't feel like the script really played to his talents.
That is true. Smee was not as funny as I expected.
Smee's not funny. He wasn't funny, and
he wasn't written to be funny. It seems.
Yeah, when I heard that Jim Gaffigan was going to be Smee, I expected him to be the Smee of the cartoon.
Me too.
And I mean, I was surprised and impressed by how well he was able to take on a more dramatic role.
Yeah.
But also, it's Jim Gaffigan, so why not make him be ridiculous?
Well, exactly. And I thought his British accent was fine. But I thought it was a lost opportunity to really to have him shine.
Yeah.
But again, maybe that just again wasn't the intent, and everybody was on board. But I thought it was a waste. Another bad choice.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, I think it was fine, but it wasn't what I expected. And I mean,
yeah, good point.
I can say that about the entire movie. So it was fine. It wasn't what I expected, but it was fine.
Take that however you want.
Well, does anybody have any final thoughts about this movie other than it was fine?
My biggest issue with the movie, besides everything that I've mentioned already, is I feel plot-wise, there's only one plot. The kids go to Neverland. As soon as they go to Neverland, John and Michael are captured, so they go to rescue them, and then they go to the ruins, and then the pirates capture them, and then they're on the pirate ship, and then Peter Pan goes to rescue them. It just seems like one long one plot line, and I felt
Yeah.
like like the
Yeah,
animated
yeah,
version, there's at least like subplots, and there's like it's not one thing leading to another, leading to another, leading to another, flowing like that. There's like there's it seems like a film with like different stuff going on. Here it just felt there was literally one thing going on, and one thing led exactly to the next thing, which led exactly to the next thing. And because of that, like, I don't know, the film experience was kind of lessened for me because of that. But I guess in
Yeah.
terms of how I feel about the movie as a movie, I can't say I did not enjoy myself watching this. I did,
Hmm.
like I said, I liked a lot of the visuals. I didn't have a problem with a lot of the cast. Uh, I wasn't hating myself every minute of watching this film, and just based on that is why I have more of a positive reaction to this film. Again, as a film, as a live action remake, again, I'm against the live action remakes. So I'm just waiting for them to stop. And as another adaptation of Peter Pan, like I said, I just had so many issues with what they did with the characters, how they portray the characters, and the whole condensing of the plot into just one single plot. Uh, that's where, yeah, that's kind of my my thoughts in a nutshell there. If I had to watch the movie again, I don't think I would be. I'd hate myself for watching it, but it's not like there's a billion other good live action Disney movies I could watch instead.
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel probably similarly. I mean, I liked the movie well enough that I would have no problem watching it again. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be because I was expecting it to be one of the top tier. Well, I mean, it's better than a lot of the live action Disney remakes, so I suppose maybe it is, but I was expecting it to be better than it was. And the fact that it's just fine is fine. Like I said, I feel like this is more of a kids movie, and I think kids will like this, and that's fine. Like it can be for the kids. It doesn't need to be for everybody. It would have been nice if it was more for everybody, but it's not a bad thing that it will only appeal to kids. And I think it will because like when I was watching it, I felt like I would have loved this in the 90s, but now it's fine.
Stanford hated
I
it.
was gonna say I hated it. That's
Which
okay.
I guess is not surprising since you loved the original so
Yeah,
much.
that's a good. Yeah, good
It
point.
would have had to have been an absolutely amazing film for you to be able to forgive
Yeah. Oh,
all the
yeah. I think
changes.
so. I think so too. Yeah.
I'm just waiting for them to get out of this. They have to run out of movies eventually to do live action
Oh,
remake stuff. But I mean,
I
it was
tell
still
you.
coming. We got Lilo and Stitch coming. We got Bambi coming. We got Lion King
Well,
2, which is not based on Lion King 2.
we have Moana.
Moana
Yeah,
coming like within 2 years or something like that.
Yeah.
a couple of years from
So
now, they're going to announce Ralph Breaks the Internet, the live
The
action
live
version.
exactly.
with the rescuers right behind. Live action mice.
I actually wouldn't be opposed to that because apparently there's a lot more books than the one that they took, and the book
Yeah.
was
Yes.
even its own thing. So I would not be opposed to a different version of the Rescuers.
Oh, the
But
Aristocats, they're in that one too. So
Yeah,
oh,
they're doing Aristocats
the Aristocats with Questlove.
with
Questlove,
Questlove.
yes.
Like what? Okay.
Well, and did
I
you see Bambi too?
I saw they finally got a director attached. Was I thought Bambi was going to be one of the ones that they announced and then it never saw the light of day, but apparently it's still
Yeah, it's in
probably
development.
happening.
So,
I feel like
it's
the fact with the Aristocats, I was like when they announced it, I was like, I rolled my eyes like, ugh. But now the
But then
fact that Questlove is involved, it's like, what on earth? It's like this must be something that he really likes because
he must have loved that movie growing up or something.
like I only know him as like a musical sidekick on late night. So the fact that he's like totally involved in a movie, it's like he must have some connection with this movie, and maybe he really wants to make this. So I'm willing to give it a bit more of a chance.
He did a documentary recently, I think.
his documentary was spectacular, by the way. It
Mm-hmm.
was called Summer of Love.
Summer Love, that's what it was.
It was
Or Summer of
about
Oh, I think I
Soul.
know what you're talking
so
about.
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. Summer of Soul. It was about the Harlem Music Festival that happened in the late 1960s.
I think
I
you and
remember the
Rachel
year.
talked about it on a podcast, and that's why I knew
Yeah.
about it.
And I think both she and I really
Yeah.
like that film, if I'm not mistaken.
It won
Yeah.
the Oscar, right? If I'm not
Yeah,
I
mistaken.
for
don't think
best
I knew
documentary.
Questlove did it. I remember you talking about it, but I didn't retain the information
Yeah.
that it was from Questlove.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that. So I guess he broke that ice. So like, okay, now I can tackle the Aristocats.
Yeah.
I have experience under my belt.
I'm not going to expect the Aristocats to be good, but I am now looking forward to seeing it just because he's doing it, and I want to know why he's doing it.
Yeah, well, I should say maybe the
Didn't he
music's
do a
gonna be
Broadway
cool.
musical too as well?
Questlove? Good
What was
question.
he?
I don't know.
There was a Broadway musical recently based on a book uh, back in the 20s about an African American man who like makes a machine to turn African American people into white people, and they made a Broadway musical about it. I think he's the one behind it, if I'm not mistaken. I
Oh,
could be wrong,
interesting.
but I think it's him. I forget the name of it now, though.
I'm on his Wikipedia page. I'm not seeing
Okay.
anything yet. I'm just
I'm just
scrolling.
looking.
I see something that he was supposed to. They were going to do like a Soul Train musical for
Okay.
Broadway, but I don't know what happened to that. Probably COVID happened to that. I wish Disney, if they're, we've talked about this in the story, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but if they're going to remake movies, why don't they remake, like, I want them to remake The Black Hole or, some live action
Yeah.
film.
A
I've
live
been
action
saying
remake
that
of a
for
live action
ages.
remake, I'm fine. Live action,
Yeah.
an animated remake of a live action film, I'm also fine with.
I would be more than fine with
Right.
that. That would be awesome.
I wish they'd
An
do that
animated
too.
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Imagine what that is.
Oh,
Ah,
that would be
it'd be
awesome.
so cool.
Yeah, there's a lot that they could do. I think that they probably won't though, because they can make the live
No.
action ones cheaper. I have a feeling that's the main reason that they keep doing these is because it is more cost effective.
Oh, sorry. The musical is called Black No More, and it's not Questlove. It's Black Thought. He's the one who did it.
Oh, okay.
He's also in the Roots.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
I think the only person in the Roots that I knew the name of was Questlove,
Was
just because he's
Questlove.
like,
Same.
not that he's the co-host, but like he was on Jimmy Fallon like all the time.
All
He
the
was the
time.
Ed McMahon of Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And so distinctive looking, and all that. Yeah, he's cool. I really love that Summer of Soul film. But again, that was just more like he discovered it and then I think edited it. This Aristocrats is gonna be Aristocats is gonna be a
The
whole other
Aristocrats would
thing.
have been a different movie. They
The
turned that
Aristocrats.
one.
Right. They're taking the live action, really seriously.
And with the Aristocats, it's not going to be live action.
Oh, I mean,
there's,
because to
there's no
even
way
call it
they're
live action, right? It's like
Simba and Nala live
the
action.
live
Yeah.
action Lion King, like really.
like it's one thing to be able to do live action dogs and then CGI on a mouth. There is no way they're going to be able to get a whole flock of cats and make the cats do what they want and then put the mouths on
It's
them.
us, yeah.
They're gonna have to animate these things because cats. Uh, like I'm a cat person. You don't make cats do what you want them to do. Cats will do what they want to
It's
do,
gonna say they
and
don't
you got to
follow
be happy
orders.
with it.
They're not gonna
They're the
follow
boss,
direction.
not you.
Yeah.
You'd
Yes.
need like an absolutely amazing animal trainer if you're going to be able to make all of these cats do all the things they need to do. I cannot, like, if they can do it, more power to them. I will be very impressed if they are actually making this a real live action film. But I think it's going to be like Lion King and it's going to be mostly animated.
Now that you mentioned it, I can't think of a movie now that live action movie that had a bunch of cats in it.
Well, I recently rewatched That Darn Cat from
Okay,
the
yeah,
60s. And
Yeah,
I thought I read they like use like 9 different cats, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
think they just must have had cameras everywhere. And we're just
Mhm.
like,
That
yeah,
worked, but yeah, to have like nine
and they
cats
were
at the
able to
same time,
edit.
yeah.
They were able to edit, what the kind of the performance that they needed from
yeah.
whatever they were able to capture. Because just think, how in the world would you even do that with cats?
I don't think you could.
Or like the Incredible Journey or something. I don't know how they pulled some of that stuff, but I don't think that's what's going to be happening with the Aristocats. As we've said, I think it's going to be made in a computer.
I will be
They'll give
amazed and
Edgar
impressed if they do.
I give
Edgar.
Edgar a better, different backstory, a sympathetic one.
Well, and I wonder if it's even going to be set in Paris, you know, if it's going to be kind of modern day.
And
Make it
are they
like
going
New
to have
York.
American hillbilly dogs?
Oh, dear.
Wait a minute, I'm the leader. I say when it's the end. It's the end.
Yeah.
No, if they do the Aristocats, they should do like the original script, like the one that was they were working on when Walt Disney was still alive. That I think there was a butler and a maid working together. Like they should
Oh,
go
I didn't know that.
back and do like the original script instead of trying to readapt to the animated film. I think it would work a lot better.
And in a way, kind of give it a purpose
Yeah,
rather than just a money grab, you know?
yeah. Like that's the best way to do a remake is make it its own thing. And yeah, I mean, I guess to bring it back to Peter Pan, I think they did that good enough. They made it its own thing with nods to the original. In some places more than others. And it wasn't like The Lion King where it was almost completely a shot for shot remake.
Right. Yeah.
I have no problem with remakes generally. My issue with
Yeah.
the live action Disney remakes is I feel it's done with the sort of feeling that animation as a medium is childish or subpar or not film enough. And that's why with the live action film, now it's a real film. So that's really my biggest issue with these remakes existing as they
Mhm.
are, more so than them just being remakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
And I feel there's a lot of kids like who are, again, and it's not a bad thing or anything. It's just not the way I would raise kids. But there's a lot of kids who would be growing up now that these live action remakes would be what they watch first and their first versions of a lot of these stories. And I feel if you're not introduced to animation as a medium from an early age, it's going to be hard to fall in love with it again as a medium later on.
Hmm.
And I feel, at least me growing up with, the Renaissance was my time. So uh, that's, I think, what cemented my love, not just for Disney, but animation as a medium.
Hmm.
And I feel kids who are being they're who are watching these live action remakes for the first time as their first exposure to these stories won't have that same instilled love of animation. But again, I guess that's not a crime. Just not the way I would do things.
You know, I'm right there with you, Mark.
Well, I suppose that would be a good note to end this one on. Go for
Let me get off my
animation.
soapbox.
Well said, though, my friend. Well said.
Well, I'm sure we will have you both back for other things in the future.
Yeah, this was fun. I don't think we three have done a podcast before together.
No, this was
No,
this was
yeah.
great.
Yeah, it was fun. We'll have to think of something else.
We've all done with
Absolutely.
each other, like every both two of us each ways, but not
Yeah.
all three of us. Me with Jonathan, me with Stanford, and Stanford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, until we figure out the next thing to do you guys want to let people know where they can find you if they want more from you? Mark?
Yeah, I have two blogs. You can check them out. One is the Animation Commendation at theanimationcommendation.com, where I do reviews of animated movies, top 13 lists, and I have my own game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Animation Edition. Currently, season 9 is going on, and both of these guys here are involved in season 9 this season. Jonathan as a contestant and Stanford as my expert. So, take a look at that and let me know what you think, and I hope you enjoy it. And I have a second blog, My Live Action Disney Project, at myliveactiondisneyproject.com, where I intend to watch and review every theatrically released and now Disney Plus released live action Disney film ever made. And I also have my review of Peter Pan and Wendy on there, so you can check that out.
And Stanford?
On Twitter, I'm at Stanford Clark, and I have a movie podcast and blog at moviespastandpresent.com.
Okay, until next time. Thanks for listening to Every Version Ever. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow my co-hosts as well. My Linktree and all of our links will be in the description below. If you want more of my content, all my podcasts are available on YouTube as well as most podcast platforms. If you enjoyed this show, check out one of the other podcasts or check out my Patreon for bonus and extended episodes you won't find anywhere else. We'll be back soon with another brand new episode, so thanks for listening and we'll see you next time.